Welcome to Behind the Story, where we discover the story behind your favourite stories. My name is Lisa Renee from the Collab Press, and I'm also a contemporary romance writer.
And I'm Naomi Craig. I write biblical novels, and my latest was published in Keeping Christmas. The Weary World Rejoices is my contribution. We had a great interview, pre-recorded interview with Dana McNeely, biblical fiction author. But before we get into that, Lisa, what are you working on right now?
Cool. Okay. Well, quickly doing a couple of things. I'm writing for the Trinity Lakes romance series that's coming out next year. Need to get a move on that.
When is your release on that?
It's not releasing till April, but because our editor has all these books to edit, I have to get it in to her by the end of the year. So I went away. When I was away, I did 20,000 words, and then been back, and now I'm just haven't really been able to get to it because just busy with all stuff, doing work for other authors and stuff with the Collab Press and cover designs and that, which is fun. But other than that, I boxed up my rom-coms, Bachelor's Clear Creek, so that's gone up and that's on Kindle Unlimited. So at least I've got a release this end of the year. That's an advantage of doing a box set. So that's $7.99 full price, but it's free in Kindle Unlimited. And
if you read one or more of Lisa's Bachelor's in Clear Creek County, it would really be super helpful if you could get on there and transfer that same review to the box set, so then she gets more eyes on it.
Yes, that's handy. So that's good. And then I need to edit. My editor's already done the edits, and I need to apply them to the rom-com for the My Funny Valentine and just wrap that up, because that's due by the end of the year as well. And then I also have done a spin-off series from The Bachelor's Clear Creek, The Bachelorettes of Clear Creek, and that's going to be more how the genre expectations are, first person present tense. And I'm going to do a novella series. So I've half written that, and I need to get that by the end of the year as well to get at my editor, because I was wanting to release that by the end of January. So we'll see if I do that, if I extend the release. But yeah, I've half written it. So yeah, I think I'll be on schedule. So yeah, it's fine. I'm just I just do one thing at a time. And
right.
So
is that
not met a deadline, so hopefully it keeps working out.
Does it confuse them in your brain having all these books going on at the same time?
Yeah, well, the two of them are due at the same time, and then the Trinity Lakes authors, they're all talking about their books and their characters and and I've got to merge my characters into them. So it's sort of like, oh, okay, maybe I should just work on that one, because that's it's all happening now, and then put mine. So I guess it's gonna be disciplined.
Fun.
I'm definitely not like a Tabitha, like working multi books at the same time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So what about you? You had your release, Keeping Christmas. Anything else that you're working on?
Yeah, I'm just I'm trying to get my release for August all squared away. I've got the long synopsis and the back cover copy, and the cover. You do a little interview for what you have envisioned for the cover, and so that needs to be turned in. So I'm just taking a pause on my writing and then just trying to get that all wrapped up, and so then I can completely focus, because this is how I work. I need to focus on one thing at one time. So
yeah, okay, well, we're the same in that regard. I don't write a lot. I write a month, and then it's editing, or then it's marketing, and then it's because or whatever. It's sort of
yeah. So
and when
it's
you're
just doing
a lot of it yourself, it's never ending.
It's never ending. But it's good. We're coming up, and here in the US, we've got holidays and lots of things happening. So it's going to be a busy season with church stuff and family stuff. But I think it's still I feel good. I feel like I'm in a good a new rhythm, I guess. So
yeah,
I'm trying to really time block myself, give myself the time in the morning, and then also to apply the time blocking stuff to like household maintenance and stuff. So hopefully I'll be able to get a handle on everything and not drop as many things this time. So
yeah, it's good having balance, and it was very encouraging having Tessa Asha. How does he say?
yeah,
Asha. Each time I was writing out all the blogs,
I'm like,
and
what? How does
make sure I get it the right way. But yeah, her message about writing at your pace, how your design. So if you write slow, she writes slow, and and just accepting that, and the pace.
Yeah.
Not trying to compare yourself.
Yeah, she said she has to get to a deeper level personally, and she's writing. I really resonated with that. Like, I mean, there's a lot more research, obviously, that goes into a historical novel than into a rom-com per se, but it's still, I don't know. I'm probably, if I was writing contemporary, I'd still probably be slow too. So
yeah, well, even with a rom-com, especially if that's even another level. Like if you're stressed or stuff going on in your personal life, and like you gotta slip into happy mode. Although I guess you could use it as an escape too.
That's true.
Have some joy.
Let's laugh at everybody's stressful situations here. Let's type this.
Let's just make that. Let's just add that into the rom-com.
Let's just make it happen. Well, good. Well, our guest today is biblical novelist Dana McNeely. Dana's debut novel, Rain, was a finalist in the Christy and Carol Awards and began the prophet Elijah's saga. That's with a J. When she's not writing or walking about in her lovely desert oasis, Dana helps manage biblical fiction aficionados. Talk about having to like actually type it out carefully as you biblical fiction aficionados community over on Facebook. Dana, welcome back to Behind the Story.
I am just so happy to be here.
Excellent. So we've got some viewers and listeners that might not have heard of you before, those might not have seen our previous interview. So for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a bit about yourself and what you write.
Okay. Like many writers, I've been writing most of my life, and most of my life I was refusing to write Christian fiction. When I finally decided I might write Christian fiction, I started trying to write cozy mysteries. So actually my first published fiction was a short story, long short story actually, that went into an anthology, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a cozy mystery fiction writer. And
I must say you look a little bit like a cozy fiction writer. You look very cozy in your office there.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be it, but I could not figure it out. I don't know. I did the story, and that was the last one, and I just couldn't, and I struggled to know what to write next. And one day when I was reading my Bible, I have read through the Bible every year for probably 40 years now, and I came across the story of the prophet Elijah when he raises the boy from the dead. And like no other time, that passage really hit me, and it seemed like a movie. And I saw that boy open his eyes, and I thought, what would it have been like to have been him? And I just started to write things about it. And I gave it to my critique group, and they were amazed. They loved it. They said they'd never heard of a book like that before. And of course I laughed because they were, completely secular critique group. And they said, what are you writing about? And I go, well, this is a Bible story. And they go, this just doesn't sound like Sunday school.
I love it. Yeah. We're bringing Sunday school to life here. I love it.
Right. So, I mean, I had a great time with that book, and it's very long. It's over 100,000 words, but amazingly, it turned out to be a pretty good book in my mind. And I tried to sell it and came up against a wall of no's. And so I kind of asked the people why, and they started to tell me, like, you just don't have enough emotion in this book, and this book is just not as good as I thought it might be. And I tried to get them to tell me why, and every time they would, I would work on that. And finally, I decided to work with an independent editor. And after I did that, I thought, well, this is probably the end. I'm going to start entering it in contests. And I started winning. And I thought, oh, good, now I've got some wins, and I'm going to go back to these agents and tell them again and get them to look at my book. And again, it was not working. So years went by, and I kept trying to write some other things and tried again to go into other genres since I was getting such a firm no on that one. And then one day I decided to retire. And when I retired, about a week or two into it, I was thinking about the book and going, am I going to keep trying to do this? Am I going to go to another conference? And I thought, no, I don't think so. I think those people are not going to take it. I've already talked to everybody I know. And then I just decided that I was going to talk to the Lord about it.
Always a good place to start.
Choice. Lord, what do you want me to do with this book? Really seems like you've been saying no, not just wait. So I guess I'm going to quit trying to sell it, and I might just quit writing because, I can't think of anything else I wanted to write.
I think a lot of authors go through that, don't they? Like, you're applying, trying to get an agent, trying to submit, and then it's just, oh, well, throw the towel in. Like, well, they come very close. Mm-hmm. But I remember you have an interesting story about how close you got. So tell us about that.
So I told the Lord I was going to quit, and I felt good about it. And so went about my business. The next day, I was on Facebook, and I got a text from a stranger, and she said, hello, are you the Dana McNeely who wrote Rain? And if so, have you sold it yet? And I said, yes. It just seems so strange, And
is this for real? Who are you?
Who are you? She introduced herself. She had been a judge in a contest years ago. It was like back in 2014, I think. And she had judged it and remembered it. And she went looking for me. Didn't know my name because it was a double-blind contest. Looked for Rain. Thought it was published. It wasn't, of course. It was just such a strange story. And she finally tracked me down, and she had told her editor about it, and her editor said they were interested. And so she told me, query Mountain Brook Inc. I think they're going to be interested in looking at your story. So that's what I did, and it wasn't a month later, probably less than a month, a few weeks, I had a contract with Mountain Brook Inc. to write 2 books and with an option for 2 more. So
that's amazing. I love it. And it's still winning awards too. You finally both the Carol and the Christy. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was amazing. And after that you just kind of go, Lord, it's all yours because I didn't do any of this. I mean, it's so obvious I didn't do any of this. And so, I'd sit down, I do my job. He's given me this opportunity to write, and I do that. But I just have a peace about it all because I can see that he's going to do what he's going to do with it. And I don't have that much control. And you know what? Neither do you.
Yeah, that's excellent. Awesome. I love to hear that story. So your upcoming release, Whirlwind, is the long-awaited sequel to Rain, a king's downfall and a love that transcends war. Spurned by potential suitors, Miriam travels to Jezreel to care for her cousin's son. There, the precocious 7-year-old works his way into her heart. When Arameans swarm the land like locusts, Miriam focuses on the safety of her young ward, but promises adventures beyond the city walls when the war ends. So tell us, what's the story behind Whirlwind?
Well, now, the story behind Whirlwind is that whole setting that was in Rain too. It's the whole setting of an apostate state, Israel, who has turned to worshiping other gods, sometimes alongside Yahweh, but sometimes in place of Him. There are some child sacrifices. It's a terrible religion. It focuses on the basest instincts of humanity, and with that backdrop, we have a war, and we have this girl, Miriam, being sent off to her cousin's house just before the war breaks out to help his wife, who is heavily pregnant and expecting any day, and who also has a young son who's about 7, who's very active. And so Miriam's going to kind of take care of the boy, not as a midwife because she doesn't know nothing about birth and no babies. And so she's just going to take care of the boy. So that's kind of the backdrop. She is an interesting character. She, when she was young, and she's one of the characters from Rain. She was a young girl in Rain, little girl. And now she's a big, strong, tall woman who thinks she's ungainly and kind of plain, but she's actually pretty beautiful. All
How
the
many years have gone by since Rain?
Well, let's see. She was about 9 and now she's about 18. So about 9 years. It's after the drought. Things have settled down. Elijah's been in hiding kind of ever since he ran from Jezebel, but the Lord is going to bring him back out of hiding. And so things start happening as soon as the war is won. First of all, several prophets become involved. There's the school of the prophets, and the Lord sends various prophets to try to jar Ahab out of his wicked ways. But as we know, it doesn't really work. So that's kind of the backdrop. I don't want to tell the whole story. So
I was going to ask some details there. You can say no. You don't have to.
Okay, you can ask me.
So you have some
I'll
prophets on page.
Yes.
Do you have name some prophets that are actually on page in the book that come in?
I do. Yeah, you really get to know the prophets. There's a lot of them. There's Elijah. There's Elisha. There's Micaiah, who is named. There's a couple unnamed prophets. Even when Naomi asked me if I was going to write about him, and I said, I don't know, because he was really going to be a hard write if I did it. And I did, Naomi.
Which guy was that?
You'll see.
It's all a big secret. You got to pre-order so you can get Dana's book as soon as it hits your Kindle.
Okay, so you've told us a bit about Miriam and some of her strengths. Does she have any quirks?
Well, I call her the bird girl because when she was young, she was weaving crates and capturing birds for her brother, and he would sell them in the market. Now, as a grown woman, she's still doing that. She's a fowler, what is called a fowler. The Israelites were fond of eating small birds, and so they often captured them and ate them, or sold them for songbirds, or different purposes, sometimes for sacrifices. So that's one quirk. Also, she is kind of a little sassy. She grew up with 2 older brothers, and she doesn't take much guff off of anyone. And so it's kind of interesting when she becomes betrothed to a man who is kind of a little bit more settled and staid, and he doesn't know quite what to do with her. So that's kind of an interesting romance.
So you said Miriam shows up in Rain. Who else comes? Who else do we see from Rain?
Okay, so you see Caleb, her brother Caleb, and her other brother Seth, her parents, basically her whole family. The grandmother was a favorite, and the grandmother is coming forward. In Rain, you briefly saw a cameo of Naboth and his wife and their young grandson. and they are in this story. And the young grandson is the boy that Miriam is caring for early in the story. His name is Jaden. He's about, how old is he? 7. Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. So this comes out on December. When is the ebook, Dana? December.
Let's see. Well, the paperback is coming out first,
Oh, okay.
December 6th, and December 27th is the ebook.
Okay. So December 6th, the book comes out. Tell us below, midpoint question, who do you think is going to show up from the Bible? Who's going to show up in Whirlwind? Comment below and let us know what you think about that. Who is that secret guy who I asked about once upon a time that I don't remember?
Okay, I think he has a name in there. All right. Yep.
It's interesting that they're bringing out the paperback first. So do they do a print run, or is it print on demand still? Do you know?
A little bit of both, I think, because, and I'm not sure I totally understand it either. I have a couple of proofs here. Here's a proof. And see, I've got all my.
Yes. Recognize the cover. Yep.
Yeah. And so anyway,
yeah, so the paperback is 2 weeks. 2 weeks of being out first.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
You were asking about the print run. I think they do, and especially if there's pre-orders, do a print run. And I've noticed that, and I think they start with Ingram Spark doing it, but then later I think Amazon picks up doing it. But I've noticed that Amazon seems to sometimes do a large print run, and then they have some in the warehouse, and so they seem to want to get them out, and they'll put them on sale. I could never figure that out. I'm like, why are they putting it on sale? It's only been out, a few months, but they do that. Kind of.
Are they even discount ebooks? I just had a pre-order up for 99 cents because it's just a new series and it's a while out, and they make it 67 cents. Why discount? It's just weird. But anyway, that's Amazon. They do what they want.
Yeah, it's they do what they want.
And yeah, they pay the same, like from the price you set. Cool. All right, so let's talk about your writing. Pam would like to know, where do you get your ideas for your books?
Well, biblical fiction. I really do get my ideas from the Bible. I'm reading the Bible all the time, and sometimes just something will strike me. I kind of did get locked into this series. So maybe an offshoot of that question is, how do I get the idea after I have an idea? Because the idea is, I'm writing a story. I wrote 2 stories about Elijah, and then I'm probably going to write 2 more books about Elisha. But it's really not his story entirely. And I listened to Tessa Afshar's interview, and she put it pretty well. She says, I'm often talking about the backstory, how we got to this point, what's in the background. And I do that. But I also have peripheral characters with personalities and quirks, like you were saying. And they really kind of change the story a little bit. They do not change the Bible story or any of the themes, but they add a lot, and they make it, they have their own wants and needs. And so their wants and needs have to jive with the Bible story, but it still makes a different kind of a story. How do I get them? A lot of times they come out of my experiences. My kids said, gee, Mom, I recognize you. I can tell who you're talking about, And it's like that. The things that kind of become a part of your story too. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. Yeah. So Rebecca wants to know if you learned anything new about Elijah in your research, and did that change the story in any way?
I did. It was sickening because I was halfway through the book, and I had written a lot about Naboth and his son, and I'd written a lot of words. I was halfway through, And I came upon this verse. Let's see. Do I have it right here? Yeah. 2 Kings 9:24 to 26. Let me just read that real quick. Then Jehu, who is way in the future, Jehu is way in the future, not in this book at all. Then Jehu drew his bow and shot Joram, a king that's way in the future, between the shoulders. The arrow pierced his heart, and he slumped down in the chariot. Jehu said to Bidkar, his chariot officer, "Pick him up and throw him on the field that belonged to Naboth the Jezreelite. Remember how you and I were riding together in chariots behind Ahab, his father, when the Lord made this prophecy about him? Yesterday I saw the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, declares the Lord." His sons.
Oh
His
no.
sons.
It's gonna have more kids than one there.
Oh no. I was horrified, and I kept reading that. "Pay for it on this plot of ground, declares the Lord. Now then, pick him up and throw him on that plot, in accordance with the word of the Lord." You think I'm going to ignore the word of the Lord? No. There's got to be more than one son. Doesn't say it's 2 or 3. It's got to be something. So I had to add another son, which meant I had to go way back and change all kinds of stuff. And
Oh
I told
man.
my critique group about it. They're going, "Well, maybe you can just, that's just a little thing. You can just," I'm like, "No,
No.
you can't ignore it. You got to put it in." And so then they kind of jumped in and said, "Well, this one gal, I love what she said. I love that she said it. I love that she saw that about me." She goes, "Well, you have your characters always sitting around praying for each other." And so they were praying for the father. So if they're praying for the father who's there, you can be darn sure they're going to be praying for the son who's absent.
Well, there you go.
And I
And
went,
suddenly we can fit in another son here.
yeah. So that was the thing. I found out that Naboth had more than one son.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you've had some challenges with writing Whirlwind. Do you get help from other authors? I know there's quite a good connection with the historical fiction authors who write in Bible times.
Very well put.
That's what we like. It's just hard to say that.
It's known to be an isolated endeavor to be an author. You're at home and everything. But do you prefer writing alone, or do you with having other people around you, or sharing ideas? How do you work with that process?
The reality is, I do write alone. I'm in here alone. My husband's at the other end of the house watching TV. And, this is how I write, and it's how I like to write. I did find out, though, that I can write other ways. I recently, I never travel. And I traveled twice this year. I went to the ACFW conference, and I went to a writer's conference, a writer's retreat in Hatteras off the North Carolina coast, which is as far away from where I live. I don't even know how many miles. I live in Arizona. That's way over on the East Coast. It was fun. It was beautiful. I had a good time. I met a lot of new women. The rules of this house were you write during the day, so it's a quiet house so that everybody can work. So we all had our own rooms, but I didn't like to write in my bedroom with no desk or anything, so I always went out and sat at the dining room table. And there was a gal who was an artist who was cooking for us that sat there and painted every day. So every once in a while we'd whisper to each other, but mostly we just sat there quietly and did our own thing until dinner time came. And then we just had a really good time of discussing what we had done during the day and brainstorming a little bit. Misu Andrews was the one kind of got this group going. She's a biblical writer, and also Carol Taurus. So the three of us would kind of talk, and sometimes the other authors would have suggestions too, even though they didn't write in that genre. So I loved the community too. It was great.
Excellent. What is something people might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I think people might be surprised if I tried to say I'm shy, because I don't come across as shy, I know. But I often get quite sick to my stomach when I'm nervous about meeting big groups of people or meeting a lot of people I don't know or traveling across the country to airports I've never been to, trying to figure out how to take Uber.
Well, you certainly were stretched
Yeah,
in your capacity this year for sure.
yeah.
Awesome. So tell us what is coming next.
Well, like I was saying to you before we started, I have another book, and it's very originally called Elisha 1. And then I will write Elisha 2. I hope I think of some better titles before then.
I'm
I'm
sure you will.
ask my readers to help me figure it out, but that's with two more Elisha books. Also, I started thinking about a New Testament book about 6 months ago, and I've been playing around with that plot. And I've got that plot, and I'm interested in writing it. I don't know if it's something that I'll do myself, or whether that it'll find a home with another publisher, but I know I've got to write that book. So those are coming.
Yay, how exciting. Well, where can the readers find you online, Dana?
Well, it's my name, DanaMcNeely.com. And any of my emails, if you see my emails, have all got a link tree at the bottom, and so does the website. So you can find my social media and everything. So
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll have that in the show notes. So thank you so much for joining us today on Behind the Story.
oh, thanks so much for having me here.
Okay, so remember to connect with Dana. We'll put that website address in there so you can get connected to her books. She is offering a paperback for the US of Whirlwind as a competition that we've got going. Or if you are international and you win, it will be an ebook. So the link for the King Somo will be in the show notes.
And we've made it really easy to enter. It's just putting in your email address so we can track you and actually get you the prize afterwards. So it's really, you don't have to go through a whole lot of hoops. We'd love for you to sign up and support Dana. And if you've not read Rain yet, then if your name is chosen, let us know and we can go from there. But as always, we do have our freebies and our show notes. Dana has, if you sign up for her newsletter, she has a novella called The Eyes of the Lord. And my novella, as usual, is on Desolate Heights. It's about Balaam and his talking donkey. If you're here for the biblical fiction world, comment below. Tell me you're here. # Team BibFic. And yeah, so we were excited to have Dana here with us today.
Yeah, and I'll offer a freebie as well. If you like audiobooks, or you can have an ebook, Fake Engagement Mistake, if you want a little quick laugh. I'll put in the show notes a link for that. Coming up next, we welcome Carmen Schober to the show.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Behind the Story. Until next time, let us run with endurance this race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Thanks for tuning in.